Do you remember the thrill of Batman arriving on your screen? First in colorful weekly adventures, and later in Gotham's darker cinematic shadows? For millions of viewers, these actors became familiar faces, welcomed into living rooms, and remembered long after the final scene. 6 decades have passed, and time has carried them down very different roads. Some became major stars, some quietly left the screen, and some are sadly gone. Now, we'll see where they ended up, how time changed them, and which stories may forever reshape the way you remember Batman. Burt Ward played Robin, Dick Grayson, Batman's fearless young partner in the 1966 television series. His rapid-fire warnings, earnest loyalty, and physical energy gave Adam West's controlled Batman a youthful counterweight. Born Burt John Gervis Jr. on July 6, 1945, in Los Angeles, California, he grew up around entertainment through his father's traveling ice show. Ward was 21 when production began, and Robin became his first professional acting role. The series turned him into a nationally recognized face almost overnight, but that immediate identification also made it difficult for audiences and casting directors to see him as anyone else. He continued acting, yet no later part approached the reach of the green mask and bright cape. In time, Ward stopped treating Robin as a shadow he needed to escape and returned to the character through reunions, animation, and appearances with West, including Batman, Return of the Caped Crusaders in 2016, and Batman vs. Two-Face in 2017. Away from the screen, he and his wife Tracy built Gentle Giants Rescue and Adoptions, an animal welfare organization that says it has rescued and placed more than 15,500 dogs, along with hundreds of cats. He received a Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2020, decades after Batmania first changed his life. At 81 in 2026, Ward remains active in animal rescue and public celebrations of the series, carrying Robin's spirit of service into a very different kind of rescue work. Victor Buono played King Tut, the grandiose criminal identity assumed by mild Egyptology professor William McElroy in Batman. The shifts between confused academic and self-proclaimed pharaoh let Buono combine booming authority with exact comic timing. Born Victor Charles Buono on February 3, 1938 in San Diego, California, he began performing Shakespeare at San Diego's Old Globe while still in his teens. Buono was 28 when King Tut first appeared, already an Academy Award nominee for Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. The recurring villain revealed the playful side of an actor often hired to seem older and more threatening than his years. It also became the television role most closely attached to his name, despite the dramatic recognition he had earned before Batman. Rather than fight the image created by his size and resonant voice, Buono turned it into material he could control. He recorded comedy albums, published the comic poetry collection It Could Be Verse, and recited his work on television, answering narrow assumptions with wit. He remained steadily employed in character roles and was still working near the end of his life. Victor Buono died from a heart attack at his home in Apple Valley, California, on January 1, 1982, at age 43. King Tut preserves the striking contrast in his talent, imposing in silhouette, precise in language, and unexpectedly funny once he began to speak. Vincent Price played Egghead, the brilliant criminal whose schemes and endless egg-centered wordplay made him one of Batman's most distinctive guest villains. Price delivered every pun with cultured precision, turning a ridiculous character into an elegant contest of intelligence. Born Vincent Leonard Price Jr. on May 27, 1911, in Street, Louis, Missouri. He studied English and art history at Yale before beginning his stage career. Price was 55 when he joined Batman, already famous for sophisticated menace in House of Wax and Roger Corman's Edgar Allan Poe adaptations. Egghead did not replace that image, it revealed the humor inside it. The role introduced his voice and theatrical control to younger viewers, while allowing him to parody the sinister reputation Hollywood had built around him. Beyond acting, Price refused to let horror define his entire life. He wrote and lectured about art, co-authored celebrated cookbooks, and helped establish an art collection at East Los Angeles College that later became the Vincent Price Art Museum. His voice then reached another generation through Tim Burton's Vincent and Michael Jackson's Thriller, while Edward Scissorhands became his final feature film appearance. Vincent Price died of lung cancer on October 25, 1993, at age 82. Egghead remains a playful fragment of a much wider legacy, created by a man whose curiosity extended far beyond the shadows that made him famous. Alan Napier played Alfred, Bruce Wayne's loyal butler and one of the few people trusted with the truth beneath Batman's cowl. His calm delivery and unshaken manners made Alfred a steady presence whenever Wayne Manor or the Batcave slipped toward chaos. Born Alan William Napier Clavering on January 7, 1903, in Kings Norton, Birmingham, England, he trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art before building a long stage career. Napier was 63 when Batman began, an experienced British character actor who had spent decades moving between the West End and Hollywood. Alfred gave him wider recognition than most of his film roles, placing his dry composure at the center of a weekly American phenomenon. The part also followed him more persistently than expected, narrowing a broad career in public memory to the dignified man beside the bat phone. After the series, Napier continued working in television films and major miniseries, then retired in 1981. He had written an extensive memoir in the early 1970s, but it remained unpublished during his lifetime, and finally appeared in 2015 as Not Just Batman's Butler. A stroke in 1987 weakened his health, and Alan Napier died of natural causes in Santa Monica, California, on August 8, 1988, at age 85. For generations of viewers, his Alfred remains the reassuring human voice at the entrance to the Batcave. Adam West played Batman and Bruce Wayne, the disciplined crime fighter at the center of the 1966 television phenomenon. By treating impossible gadgets, flamboyant villains, and moral lessons with complete seriousness, he created a hero children could trust and adults could enjoy differently. Born William West Anderson on September 19, 1928, in Walla Walla, Washington, he studied literature at Whitman College before entering broadcasting and acting. West was 38 when Batman premiered, an established working actor whose westerns and adventure roles had not made him a household name. The cape changed that almost instantly. It brought extraordinary fame, but after the series ended, the same image closed doors because audiences often saw Batman before they saw the actor in a new role. West spent years taking regional theater, personal appearances, guest parts, and low-budget films simply to keep working. His later triumph was not escaping Batman, but finding a way to live alongside him. He embraced self-parody as Mayor Adam West on Family Guy, returned to the cowl in animation, and reunited with Burt Ward and Julie Newmar for Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders in 2016. That acceptance turned an old professional burden into affection across generations. Adam West died in Los Angeles on June 9, 2017, at age 88, after a short battle with leukemia. The role that once confined him became his lasting gift, a Batman defined by steadiness, humor, and faith in doing what was right. Julie Newmar played Catwoman, the poised thief whose flirtation with Batman made every encounter feel like both a chase and a dangerous courtship. Her feline movement and dry, teasing delivery let the character shift from comic mischief to genuine menace without losing control. Born Julia Shalene Newmar on August 16, 1933, in Los Angeles, California, she trained as a dancer and entered films through musical work. Newmar was 33 when she first appeared on Batman, already a Tony Award-winning stage performer with a striking screen presence. Catwoman gave her lasting recognition, but it also fixed her public image around beauty, costume, and physical grace. She later embraced that bond, returning to voice Catwoman beside Adam West and Burt Ward in 2 animated films. Away from Gotham, her most meaningful role unfolded at home. She raised her son John, who has Down syndrome, as a single mother, and learned sign language after meningitis took his hearing when he was 3. As acting became less central, she managed family property and created a flower-filled Los Angeles garden where she and John shared their days. At 92 in 2026, Newmar is largely retired and said a rare January fan convention would be her final public event. Her Catwoman still feels alive because beneath the elegance was a woman who always seemed one step beyond Batman's reach. William Dozier served as Batman's uncredited narrator and appeared briefly as the maitre d' who welcomed Bruce Wayne into the opening adventure. His commanding voice turned recaps and cliffhangers into part of the comedy, giving Wild Danger the gravity of an old serial. Born William McElroy Dozier on February 13, 1908, in Omaha, Nebraska, he studied law at Creighton University before building a career in radio, film, and television production. Dozier was 58 when Batman premiered, an experienced executive who had already supervised major studio programming. Developing the series made him the guiding force behind its bright, self-aware style, while his unseen narration became more recognizable than many on-camera performances. Its success also gave his company a national profile that proved difficult to repeat once Batmania faded. Dozier next produced The Green Hornet, which brought Bruce Lee to American television, and pursued other comic book pilots that never became series. He later made occasional acting appearances, but no project again matched the strange cultural reach of the show he shaped from behind the camera. William Dozier died in Santa Monica, California, on April 23, 1991, at age 83. Audiences rarely saw the man responsible, yet his voice still hangs over Gotham's cliffhangers, forever promising another peril at the same Bat time and the same Bat channel. Frank Gorshin played the Riddler, Batman's compulsive puzzle maker and one of the hero's most volatile opponents. His piercing laugh and sharply controlled body language made Edward Nygma seem capable of exploding from delight into rage within a single scene. Born Frank John Gorshin Jr. on April 5, 1933, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he studied drama at Carnegie Tech and refined his impressions in clubs and while entertaining troops in the army. Gorshin was 33 when Batman began, already a familiar television impressionist, but not yet a major star. The Riddler changed that immediately. His performance earned an Emmy nomination, and Gorshin later said the exposure helped turn him from a guest actor into a Las Vegas headliner. Yet the question mark suit remained the image audiences carried, even as he spent decades proving how much more he could do. His strongest late career achievement came on stage as George Burns in the one-man play Say Goodnight, Gracie, which reached Broadway in 2002 and let his gift for imitation deepen into a dramatic portrait. He continued touring with the show and gave his final live performance only weeks before his death. Frank Gorshin died on May 17, 2005, at age 72, from complications of lung cancer, emphysema, and pneumonia. The Riddler's laugh was frantic, but Gorshin's legacy rests on the discipline that made every movement feel dangerously precise. Joe E. Tata played several Gotham henchmen on Batman, including Tallow, appearing under different names and costumes. His tough, reactive presence gave the colorful master villains someone grounded to command, threaten, or blame when a scheme collapsed. Born Joseph Evan Tata on September 13, 1936, in the Bronx, New York, he began his television career in 1960 and soon became a dependable supporting actor. Tata was 30 when he first appeared on Batman, still building recognition through small but steady roles. The series did not make him a headline name, but its repeated parts displayed the adaptability that sustained him for decades. Instead of being trapped by one character, he became the kind of familiar performer who could enter a show, define a part quickly, and keep the story moving. His greatest recognition arrived much later, when he was cast as Nat Basicchio, the warm owner of the Peach Pit on Beverly Hills, 90210. What began as a supporting presence grew into a 10-season home base for younger characters, transforming an actor once hidden among Gotham's goons into a reassuring television father figure. He later returned as Nat in the 90210 revival and made his final screen appearance in 2014. Diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2018, Joe E. Tata died on August 24, 2022, at age 85. Batman showed his range in fragments, but Nat finally gave viewers the steady kindness his long career had kept in the background. Burgess Meredith played the Penguin, the umbrella-armed criminal whose polished manners barely concealed his vanity and appetite for control. His rasping quack, clipped speech, and restless cigarette holder made the villain comic in appearance but calculating in every confrontation. Born Oliver Burgess Meredith on November 16, 1907, in Cleveland, Ohio, he left Amherst College and joined Eva Le Gallienne's Civic Repertory Theater. Meredith was 59 when he first faced Batman, already a respected stage and screen actor with decades of dramatic work behind him. The Penguin introduced that craft to a younger mass audience and became one of the series' most frequent returning villains. Yet the role never confined him, because his authority came from a career broad enough to survive far greater pressures. Meredith had endured years of reduced film work after being blacklisted during the McCarthy era, but his later life became an extraordinary renewal. In the 1970s, he earned Academy Award nominations for The Day of the Locust and Rocky, where his Mickey gave the boxing story its bruised emotional center. He also won an Emmy for portraying lawyer Joseph Welch in Tail Gunner Joe, answering an era that had once damaged his own career. Burgess Meredith died at his Malibu home on September 9, 1997, at age 89, after living with Alzheimer's disease and melanoma. From the Penguin's schemes to Mickey's weary devotion, he made age, damage, and defiance feel inseparable. Neil Hamilton played Commissioner Gordon, Gotham City's dependable police commissioner and Batman's most frequent official ally. His urgent calls to the Batphone and unwavering faith in the Caped Crusader gave the city's chaos a steady center. Born James Neil Hamilton on September 9, 1899, in Lynn, Massachusetts, he entered films after modeling and became a leading man during the silent era. Hamilton was 67 when Batman premiered, a veteran whose matinee idol years had long since given way to character roles. Commissioner Gordon brought him renewed visibility and introduced his formal screen presence to children who knew nothing of his earlier fame. Appearing in all 120 episodes, he became one of the faces that made Gotham feel familiar from week to week. The role also formed a graceful final chapter to a career that had begun before talking pictures, allowing an actor once paired with major silent stars to end as television's trusted voice of authority. After Batman, Hamilton worked only occasionally and retired from acting in 1971, spending his later years away from the industry with Elsa, his wife of more than 6 decades. Neil Hamilton died in Escondido, California, on September 24, 1984, at age 85, following a severe asthma attack. His Gordon endures not through force or spectacle, but through the calm certainty with which he always reached for Batman's help. Anne Baxter played 2 distinct Batman villains, Zelda the Great, a magician trapped by her own criminal arrangement, and Olga, Queen of the Cossacks, the commanding partner of Egghead. Her polished authority allowed both women to remain theatrical without becoming weightless. Born Anne Baxter on May 7, 1923, in Michigan City, Indiana, she was a granddaughter of architect Frank Lloyd Wright and began acting professionally as a teenager. Baxter was 43 when she first appeared on Batman in 1966, already an Academy Award winner and one of Hollywood's recognized dramatic actresses. The series gave her room to parody the intensity and grandeur that had defined many of her screen roles. Returning later as a different villain also showed how easily she could reshape her presence without relying on Zelda's fame. Her most meaningful later chapter brought her back to All About Eve from the opposite side. After playing the ambitious Eve Harrington on film, she took over the role of Margot Channing in the Broadway musical Applause. Television offered another return when she replaced her former co-star Bette Davis on Hotel and carried the series through its early seasons. Anne Baxter died in New York City on December 12, 1985, at age 62, 8 days after suffering a stroke. Batman caught only a playful corner of her range, Yet Zelda and Olga still reveal an actress who could turn authority into comedy without diminishing either. Yvonne Craig played Barbara Gordon in Batgirl, the librarian who entered Gotham's battles on her own terms, rather than waiting to be rescued. Her dancer's balance and composed confidence made the purple-suited crime fighter feel quick, capable, and independent. Born Yvonne Joyce Craig on May 16, 1937, in Taylorville, Illinois, she trained as a ballerina and toured with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo before moving into acting. Craig was 30 when she joined Batman in 1967, an established dancer-turned-performer whose physical discipline suited the role. Batgirl gave her the recognition of a major television character and made Craig a visible example of a woman sharing the action with male heroes. That image followed her more strongly than later guest roles, but she used it rather than rejecting it. In 1973, she returned to the costume for a public service announcement supporting equal pay for women, turning Batgirl's independence into a direct argument about fairness. When acting offers became repetitive, Craig stepped away and built a second career in real estate, while continuing to meet fans and support causes including free mammograms and workers' rights. Yvonne Craig died at her Pacific Palisades home on August 17, 2015, at age 78, from complications of breast cancer that had spread to her liver. Her Batgirl remains a bright memory of courage and a heroine who never needed permission to join the fight. Cesar Romero played the Joker, Batman's gleeful enemy whose crimes unfolded like performances staged for his own amusement. His rolling laugh, theatrical gestures, and flashes of anger made the character playful without removing the threat beneath the makeup. Born Cesar Julio Romero Jr. on February 15, 1907, in New York City, he was raised in a Cuban-American family and began his career as a ballroom dancer. Romero was 59 when he first appeared on Batman in 1966. Already a veteran of film, radio, and television, known for suave romantic and adventure roles. The Joker transformed that elegant image into something comic and unruly, introducing Romero to younger viewers as the first actor to play the villain in live-action television and film. Although the painted face became his most familiar role, it did not end his range or ability to keep working. He moved into family films, television appearances, and later the drama Falcon Crest, remaining active well into his 80s. That longevity gave his career an unusual arc. The former screen sophisticate became remembered for a villain who treated every defeat as another excuse to laugh. Cesar Romero died in Santa Monica, California, on January 1, 1994, at age 86, from complications of a blood clot while being treated for bronchitis and pneumonia. His Joker survives as a burst of color and controlled mischief, the first television laugh in a role many actors would later reinterpret. Estelle Winwood played Aunt Hilda, Marcia's elderly relative, and the eccentric source of potions, advice, and supernatural mischief. Her dry timing made the character seem less impressed by Gotham's danger than by the inconvenience it caused her. Born Estelle Ruth Goodwin on January 24, 1883, in Lee, Kent, England, she trained at London's Lyric Stage Academy before beginning a life in the theater. Winwood was 83 when she first appeared on Batman in 1966, bringing more than 6 decades of stage experience to an outsized guest role. Aunt Hilda did not redefine a career rooted in Broadway and the West End, but it let television viewers discover the wit that had sustained her for generations. Even among exaggerated personalities, she needed little more than a raised eyebrow or clipped reply to command a scene. Winwood continued performing after Batman, appearing in Camelot, The Producers, and Murder by Death while already in her 90s. She also remained active on television late in life, extending a journey that had begun before motion pictures could speak. On reaching 100, she met the milestone with the same sharp humor that had marked her performances. Estelle Winwood died in her sleep in Woodland Hills, California, on June 20, 1984, at age 101. Aunt Hilda was only a small stop in an extraordinary career, but her presence carried the confidence of someone who had watched nearly the entire modern entertainment age unfold. Across 2 generations of Batman, fame brought some cast members lasting recognition, while others stepped away from the spotlight, and many are no longer here to share the memories they created. Yet the masks, voices, and performances remained with them, shaping how audiences remembered their lives long after the cameras stopped. Time gave some reinvention, others quiet distance, and all of them a place in screen history. Which face from Gotham has stayed with you the longest? In the end, the actors grew older, but the shadows they left behind never did.